All right, everyone, in today's video, we're going to check out Run and Gun, a history of on-foot shooters by Bitmap Books. All right, everyone, here we are with another book from Bitmap Books. This took just a little under a week to get it from the UK, which is great. We're here in the US. And just, again, take a look at the packaging quality that they've got with everything they do. So this comes packaged up in a bag just to make sure that no moisture or anything gets to this. It's sealed. This is good, especially since it's shipping from overseas, to make sure that in transit, if there's any moisture or any rain or anything that affects the outside packaging of the box, it doesn't get to the book inside, which is great. So here we go. We've got the outside packaging here. Brand labeled packaging that's sealed up, which is great, just like the quality that we've seen and everything else that they did. Let's get this thing open. All right, so here's the inside box. Again, brand labeled box. They've got custom graphics on here. Everything looks great. Let's take a look at what's inside this thing. All right, now here's everything inside. We've got this little promotional flyer here. All right, here we've got the book inside. You'll notice that it comes with these protective corners to make sure that the book doesn't get damaged. And it's wrapped up in this nice wax paper that's branded with Bitmap Books logo, as well as they've got everything sealed up here with these Bitmap Books stickers. Very good packaging job. All right, everyone, here you have it. We've got the Bitmap Books presents Run and Gun, a history of on-foot shooters. I thought this would be a pretty neat book to pick up. I like run and gun games a lot, so figured we would take a look at it together here. Let's read what the back has to say. No other gaming genre in history has matched the intense action, pixel-perfect gunplay, and slick platforming of the run and gun shooter genre. Birthed in the 1970s, this enduring genre has evolved dramatically over the decades to deliver some of the most iconic video games of all time. From retro heavyweights like Contra, Turrican, Gunstar Heroes, Mega Man, and Metal Slug, to modern games like Blazing Chrome, Hotline Miami, and Cuphead. And check out this little neat touch they've got on the barcode here. There's some little characters shooting over here. This is the kind of stuff that really sets these guys apart. They pay attention to detail and add these neat little things to all their books to really make them stand out from the crowd. This is pretty cool. You'll notice they've got all these neat little characters from different games here. We got Cuphead, Earthworm Jim. There's a bunch of different ones here. This is pretty cool. All right, we've got our contents here. You've noticed that they've got a number of different games broken down by a timeline: 80 to 89, 90 to 99, 2000 to 2009, 2010 to 2019, 2020 to 2023. This is pretty cool. We've got a platform key that shows the different consoles, and we've got the introduction. Let's read through the introduction before we get into the book. For decades, developers within the genre have prided themselves on throwing players into a gauntlet of bullets, grueling difficulty curves, and intimidating boss battles. Blink or drop your focus for just a second, and you might find yourself slain by a stray gunshot or blindsided by an enemy's instant kill melee strike. The only way to make it through is to move with absolute precision as you run, jump, and weave your way through a hellfire of bullets and explosions. Quick reflexes and an unwavering focus are useful tools in your arsenal, but they typically aren't enough to beat the hardcore elite of the run and gun genre. You also need a keen eye for memorizing precise enemy attack patterns, as well as the ability to spot specific enemy tells. The best games in the genre are brutal but fair. Thanks to enemies that have clearly telegraphed attacks, if you see an enemy behave in a certain way, this lets you know when a particular attack is about to be unleashed, which grants you a millisecond or two to react accordingly. Even with this sliver of breathing space, you still need to memorize all the ways in which an enemy can kill you and how to deal with them. In many run and gun classics, your survival will depend on this. To accomplish all of this chaos and pain, developers need to present players with the most responsive and fluid gameplay mechanics possible. Run and gun titles become unfair when your character moves too slowly to skirt around bullets that travel faster than you do. Likewise, if the game's hitboxes aren't precisely set, you might find yourself unfairly clipped by projectiles, despite thinking you were in the clear. All of these elements must be perfectly aligned and precise for a run-and-gun shooter to achieve classic status. Many games such as Contra, Gunstar Heroes, and Cuphead hit the bullseye with gusto, while others shoot wide of the mark. It can be fascinating to compare so-called good and bad run-and-gun titles in retrospect, just to see where they went right or wrong. Take all of this into consideration, and the run and gun genre is notoriously difficult to get right. But even the less fondly remembered titles have plenty of good qualities to discover. In many cases, the challenge and reward comes from learning to adapt to their particular quirks. A common example is the odd way the characters move and turn in the NES edition of SNK's Ikari Warriors. It makes the game feel sluggish and unfair, but in time you can still adapt and slog through its brutal demands if you wish. Over the course of this book, you'll see how the run-and-gun genre was spawned from space shooters of the 70s and how it started to become its own genre with the release of Tato's cowboy-themed arcade game, Gunfight, also known as Western Gun. We'll then blast our way through the decades to document how the genre has evolved over time and how developers have kept building and innovating on top of that ever-present core of pixel-perfect precision. So grab a spread shot, power up, insert a fresh clip into your gun, and get ready to rock. All right, what an intro, you guys. Let's take a look at what's all in this thing and go from there. So we've got a little image here of Contra 3, the Alien Wars. I've always thought this was a pretty cool intro to a game. If you're not familiar with it, definitely check it out. We've got over here, Konami's Super Nintendo Epic set a gold standard in 1992 by nailing all of the qualities of a perfect shooter. It's a must-play. Agree. This is a great game. Check it out. All right, we've got a little preface here. We've got an image from Contra. You see up here, Konami's 1988 NES edition of Contra is still regarded by many as a perfect run-and-gun experience. It can even feel jarring when other games get Contra's fundamentals wrong. This is a good game. Anyone familiar with the NES has played Contra. NES was the first home console that I ever had. Fortunately, I didn't get a Atari. Our neighbors had an Atari, and I would go over there and play it all the time. But we had an NES. Definitely a lot of nostalgia for me. Had Contra. Used to play this game all the time. Got a little note over here. While this book includes over 300 shooters, we chose not to include them all. This is because the line between what a run-and-gun shooter is and isn't gets quite blurry as the years roll on. We've got Gunstar Heroes, Mega Man. Okay, here we've got a foreword by Chad and Jared Moldenhauer. In case you've been living under a rock somewhere, Cuphead is a great game. It's super hard, but the quality of this game is just crazy. From the artwork, the music, the character design, I mean, the gameplay, everything is done so well with this game. If for some reason you haven't played this, you definitely need to check it out, especially if you like run and gun games. This is a great game. So what is a run and gun game? There are actually two formats that are associated with the run and gun genre. Classic 2D shooters viewed from a side-on perspective and top-down shooters that let you see the action unfold from above. We've got Gun Force 2. The key ingredients. The run and gun genre has evolved a lot since it began in the 70s. Thanks to talented developers around the world trying out bold new ideas that build upon the classic format. Here are 10 fundamental mechanics you commonly find in run and gun titles across history. Guns. Lots of guns. Multi-directional shooting. Weapon pickups. Bullet hell moments. As far as I'm concerned, the bullet hell moments, as long as it's fair, it's okay. But some of the situations you get into with games, you just can't avoid them. And I don't care for that. But that's kind of what this book was referring to earlier, right? You want difficulty, but you don't want the difficulty to be so tough that you can't manage it. Platforming acrobatics, brutal bosses, rideable vehicles, scoring systems, cooperative play, and last-ditch attacks. How did the run and gun genres start? Now this goes into more of the history here. We've got Nintendo's Sheriff game. Here's Gunfight, and they've got a little note here. Gunfight might look primitive today, but it was the first game to depict human versus human gunplay. It's interesting. Combat. Anyone that's familiar with the Atari 2600 has played Combat. This was a pack-in game for that console, so you'll see a ton of these around if you go to retro game stores that cover Atari-related releases, or any yard sales that's going to have or estate sale that's got an Atari 2600, they usually got this game. 80 to 89, here we go. We've got Mega Man, Contra, Wizard of War, Berserk, Castle Wolfenstein, 1981, Wild Western, Robotron 2084. So as we go through this book, we're going one year after another, and you can see the development of the graphics and everything just right before your eyes as we go through this. It looks pretty neat actually going through this book like this. Ikari Warriors, some information about Rolling Thunder. So one of the main reasons that I wanted this book and some of the other ones that we've gotten from Bitmap Books, although I've played a ton of games over the years, there are some games that I've never played. And going through something that's documented like this, it gives you a visual representation of what the game is, not just the cover art, but they've got screenshots of the game and they've got information. And as you read through this, you may find games that you've never played before that you might want to try out. And that's what I think really makes these books stand out as something valuable to persons who really enjoy retro gaming. Here's Contra, 1987. Love the intro music to this game whenever it starts up. It's just so iconic. So there's a lot of information here in regards to Contra. And it makes sense because this game had such an impact on anyone that was playing video games back in the day. I mean, I can really remember this game and enjoying it and playing it over and over and dying and playing it over and over and over again. To this day, I still think this is a great game. Zillion 2, Mega Man 1987. So I really enjoyed these original Mega Man games. I think they're well done, very fun to play. And one thing I always thought was neat about Mega Man was having all the different bosses and being able to choose which one you go into. And because that really sets the course for how you end up finishing the game and being able to complete everything. And I always thought that was an interesting way to do this game. 1987, Super Contra. Let's take a look at how the graphics are slowly getting better here as we scroll through this book. Narc, 1988, here we go. Here we go, 1988, RoboCop. So not only does the game bring back memories, but just the movie RoboCop, such a great movie. Here we go, 1988, Mega Man 2, Fester's Quest. I can remember playing this game. I never really liked it too much, but I can remember playing this a lot whenever it came out. Here we go into our next section, 1990 to 1999. With the arrival of 16-bit hardware, game developers could inject their shooters with more on-screen enemies, bullets, and carnage to deliver a new breed of heart-pounding action experience for players to enjoy. Whether you were on Nintendo's or Sega's side of the 16-bit console wars, gamers in general were ultimate victors. So I was definitely on the Sega side. Loved the Sega Genesis. That's definitely one of my favorite consoles of all time as far as 16-bit goes. It's the Genesis for me. Here's a little note. The most infamous arcade run-and-gun release of the 90s needs little introduction. Nazca's Metal Slug dropped in 1996 and blew away gamers with its detailed pixel art and fluid animation. I'm sure anybody watching this video is familiar with the Metal Slug series. Great games. Here we got Turrican, Gunstar Heroes. This is also a great game. Here we go, 1990, Aliens. So here's an overview of some of the enemies in the game. This is pretty neat. 1990, Mega Man 3, Journey to Silius. 1990, Ghostbusters. Here we go. Smash TV. I'm sure everyone's familiar with this game. This is a pretty cool game. Ghostbusters 2, released in the same year. Here we go, 1991, Duke Nukem. So I'm a huge Duke Nukem fan. I love the Doom series. I think those are great games. Quake's good. I just think that Duke Nukem sets itself apart from those for the comedic value that it has. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and I think that's what really makes Duke Nukem stand apart from the others. 1991, RoboCop 2, 1992, Aliens 3. And here we go, 92, we've got another Mega Man 5. You can see how much better the graphics are starting to get within that game series. Bucky O'Hare, 1992, this is a good game. Another Contra game, 1992, Contra Force. Here we go, 1992, Contra 3, The Alien Wars. There's some of the enemies. Character design is really cool in these games. Here's B.O.B. in 1993. This is a good game in case you've never played it. I recommend checking this out. Run and gun platforming type game. 1993 Mega Man X. Wow, just check out how good this looks compared to some of the older games. Just the way that they were advancing with the pixel art. I think the 16-bit era, as far as the way the games look with the pixelated graphics, has some of the most beautiful looking games there are, regardless of what console it came out on. RoboCop versus the Terminator, 1993. 1993 Mega Turrican. 1993 Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I can remember this game. But I never had it, but I used to rent it a lot and play it. It's a fun game. 1993 Gunstar Heroes. This is a great game. If you've never played this, I highly recommend checking this out. 1994 Mega Man X2. 1994 Contra Hard Corps. 1994 Earthworm Jim. I really enjoy this series of games. I wish they would make a good new version of Earthworm Jim. I can remember going into rental stores, seeing this game, and it had such great cover art on the game itself, and you would see that, and it would stand out from a lot of the other games. And that's what it's all about. It's grabbing your attention, especially back then when you didn't have, the internet. You wasn't able to look at different things to get an idea of what game you wanted to play. You just go into the rental store, and you'd see it sitting there, and it's like, wow, this looks really cool. And I ended up renting this a number of times, playing it. I never owned it, but I really like these games. Earthworm Jim. Here's some of the enemies. There's the cow. 1995 Mega Man 7. 1995 Mega Man X3. 95 Super Turrican 2. Here's 1995 Vector Man. I can remember renting this and playing this a lot whenever it came out. I like this game. 1995 Judge Dredd. Now, I really like these books, the comic books for Judge Dredd. Nowadays, you can get a graphic novel of them and find different ways to read them. Some of the older ones are more valuable, but this is a neat series. I think the newer movie of Dredd was very well done. It's a shame that it didn't perform as well as what it should, and they would have made another movie of it. But I thought that was a very well done movie. I really enjoyed it, and again, a shame they weren't able to do better to make a sequel to that. Here we go, 95, Earthworm Jim 2. 1996, Vector Man 2. 1996, Metal Slug. This game series needs no introduction. Anyone who's a fan of run and gun type shooter games is going to like these games. The visuals, everything's done really well. The only kind of detractor, if you will, from the series is the slowdown in some of the games. But honestly, it adds some of the quirkiness to it. I think these are very well done. I really enjoy this series of games. Just different images and things from the game. 1997, we're up to Mega Man X4. They're really pumping out the Mega Man games. 1998, Metal Slug 2 and X. Here we go. I mean, look how great these games look. It's crazy. Now we get to 2000 to 2009. The new millennium introduced a few major power shifts that changed the games industry in ways that are still being felt today. Sega started the decade in an unfortunate position due to the rapidly declining popularity of its underappreciated Dreamcast console. 2000, Metal Slug 3 and Metal Slug Second Mission. 2002, Turok Evolution. I really like the Turok games, the comic book series. You know, this is a very old comic book series in case you weren't familiar with that. But I like the comic book series. I was really big into comics when I was a kid, very familiar with Turok, and they got a new game coming out here pretty soon, so I'm very interested to see how that turns out. 2002 Demon Front. If you'll notice, this is very similar to Metal Slug in the way everything looks, which it looks great. 2002 Mega Man Zero and 2003 Mega Man X7. 2005 Gunstar Superheroes. Here's an interesting one. I've never heard of this. 2009 Eduardo the Samurai Toaster. With a name like that, I'm curious just to see exactly what this thing is. But again, that's what makes these kind of books interesting, is seeing things that you may not have seen or experienced in the past to give you an idea of what you may want to play. Eduardo the Samurai Toaster. Here we go, 2010 to 2019. Throughout this decade, console lifespans extended dramatically, following a series of high-profile failures, measured first steps, and expensive course corrections. 2011, The Binding of Isaac. This is a big game. There's a ton of people out there that really enjoy these games. 2012, Hotline Miami. So this is a top-down view. I really like a game like this is the Hong Kong Massacre. 2015, Hotline Miami 2, wrong number. Here we go, 2015, Guns, Gore, and Cannoli. Never heard of that, but it sounds very interesting. 2016, Mighty Number 9. Looks interesting. I never played that game. 2017, Ruiner. This is a pretty cool game. It's got a good soundtrack. 2017, Cuphead. I mean, this game is so well done. I can't give it enough justice by talking about it here, but if you're into run and gun type games, boss battles, just very high quality production games, this is for you. I mean, it's difficult, definitely a very tough game, but it's fun, very well made. Everything from the music, the artwork, the character design, the boss battles, everything is very well done with Cuphead. Mighty Gunvolt Burst in 2017. This looks like a neat game. I never played it. Here we go, 2018, Guns, Gore, and Cannoli 2, the follow-up to the game that I never played. I wonder if this is any good. 2019, Valfaris. These are good games. They've got Valfaris, and then they just released the Mechatherion. The Mechatherion is more of a flying shooter game, but they're both good games. This is a very cool game, Valfaris. Here is a really good game, 2019's The Hong Kong Massacre. We did a review of this game. The initial play that we did, I thought was pretty good, but I found myself returning time after time again to play this game. The soundtrack on this game is excellent. It's definitely one of the better soundtracks for a game that I've ever heard, and the gameplay is so fun, just running through and trying to get the enemies. It's a top-down game, and just trying to get the enemies around every corner. Very fun game. Highly recommend Hong Kong Massacre. 2020 to 2023. Following the genre's relative lull in the 2000s, run and gun shooters were released at an increasing pace through the 2010s. This trend continued into the 2020s and has given us a diverse range of fresh shooters inspired by the genre's origins. 2020, Bite the Bullet. 2021, Contra returns. Well, there you have it, you guys. There's Run and Gun, a history of on-foot shooters by Bitmap Books. All right, everyone, you just seen us check out Run and Gun, a history of on-foot shooters from Bitmap Books. Now, just like all their other books, this thing is really well done. Everything from the unboxing, the packaging, the binding of the book itself, and all the content within, it's really well done. There's a ton of games in here, a lot of games, especially the newer games. When we get to around 2000 to 2023, there's a bunch of games in there that I'm not real familiar with. And this has allowed me and my kids to go through and see games that we might want to play. There's a number of games on there for modern consoles that you can either get physical copies for or download digital games. And it's neat because, again, a lot of these we haven't heard of, so just looking at them and being able to quickly check them out, that's pretty neat. But hey, there's a ton of good content here. I think if you're into run and gun games, retro gaming, gaming artwork, anything like that, you're going to like this book. It'd be a great gift for anyone who likes any type of video games or retro gaming. I think they would enjoy the book as well. Thanks for tuning in to the video, you guys. Really appreciate it. And until next time, keep gaming.